I don't like to edit out anything on my podcast, and so I'm going to backtrack just real quick so you can clarify and tell the truth with this. Now, you said you applied to 40 jobs is what you meant to say, right? But you said 400.
I said 400.
What?
Yeah, that was over a 2-year period. I applied to 400 jobs. There were a couple small contract roles that I got because of, how my experience.
Welcome to the Next Big Flip podcast, where it's not just about flipping for profit, but flipping for purpose. I'm your host, LaJuan Diggs, author of The Craigslist Hustle and 20 Years of Flipper. Whether it's furniture, fashion, or just your mindset, we're here to help you take what you have and make it work. From everyday hustlers to unexpected side gigs, you'll hear real stories, real strategies, and maybe even find your next big flip. The one that gets you to your next moment. The next big flip. Let's get it. Okay, we're going to try this again. And what I mean by that, I'm actually on site in San Diego, California. Super exciting. And so her TikTok profile reads corporate layoff, furniture flipper, and podcast host and singer of goofy songs. Now her handle is San Diego Furniture Flipper, but I have the pleasure of being here with Jenny Dempsey. Does that pretty much sum you up for this season of your life, Jenny?
Oh, yes, it does. Yeah, that's me. I'm a mixed bag.
And first off, I just want to thank you for welcoming me into your home. I started out in South Carolina on Monday. It is now Thursday. So I went from South Carolina to Illinois, Arizona. Now I am here in San Diego, rocking my San Diego baseball cap. And so it's a lot of fun. So thank you so much for having me in your home.
Oh my gosh. Well, LaJuan, thank you so much for being here and traveling all the way. I mean, next big flip U.S. tour. I mean, this is exciting. Here we go.
It is. And so when you go on trips like this, you never know how much stuff you need to take. And so I'm sitting here now dealing with my podcast equipment. We've restarted twice already, but she is such a gracious host. And so it's super exciting. And so, Jenny, as I'm going through your profile, and I see corporate layoff, furniture flipper, podcast host, and singer of goofy songs. Let's start with the singer of goofy songs because I checked out a few of those songs online and they are so entertaining. And she even sung one for me here today that's going to be on her YouTube video later. How did you get into that?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I've been singing since I was a little kid. I always loved making up songs. When I was 12, I started taking guitar lessons. I wanted to be Jewel. And honestly, I haven't stopped singing since I could speak. And I really I find it so much fun to write funny little goofy songs. And actually back in, I'm going to date myself here, but 2005, there used to be a magazine called Teen People. It's like the People magazine, but the teen version. It's not out anymore. It's not in print, but there was a contest in there, a songwriting contest, and your girl won and was in the magazine. And they literally gave me 5 words and said, write a song, and everyone entered the competition, and you recorded it on a cassette tape, and then you sent it off. Yeah. And so if that says anything, I just really like making up things. And sometimes I will literally be working on pieces of furniture, sanding it. I will stop because I have a song in my head and I'll go and sing it.
Now, in the rap world, they call that freestyling. And when I tell you, Jenny busted out a freestyle on guitar today. When I asked her, she said, what should I sing about? And I just gave her just a random topic and she went in. I said, oh my goodness. So if you need anybody to freestyle on your album, hit up San Diego Furniture Flipper.
True that. I'll be honest, I have never had like formal vocal lessons. So it's a little folky, raw sounding, but yeah, that's me. I'm your girl.
And so Jenny is also a podcast host herself. And so she has a podcast, Career Flipper Podcast. And I had a chance to check out the website, which is very cute and put together and very professional in comparison to mine. And I was like, I need to learn a thing or two. But Jenny, how did you get that podcast started and how long have you been doing it?
Hey, well, first of all, don't ever compare. Yours is just as great. And I will say, I didn't know what I was doing when I was making that website. I was like, let's see how I can do this, first of all. But I literally just started podcasting a year ago. Wow. Yeah, just a year ago. I had a dream one night. This is really kind of a silly story. I had a dream one night. And in the dream, I was sitting in a podcast studio recording this thing. And it was so weird to me because I was going through this period in my life where I didn't know what I was doing with my career. And I was flipping furniture instead of working in the tech world. And I felt really wacky and weird. And I started to talk to people who have also made interesting career pivots. And I found so much validation and honestly, a lot of peace and some confidence building from talking to them. And I was like, wow, I wonder if this could help someone else too. So I just started recording these conversations, put it out in a podcast. Didn't know how to do that, so really had to learn. As you know very well.
Feeling is mutual.
Yeah. And technology sometimes wasn't my friend. If you listen to the earlier episodes, you're like, ooh, yeah. It's probably because I forgot to turn on the mic button, but it's how it goes. And here we are a year later. I've talked to over 70 people around the world who have pivoted their careers, and I have learned so much. And it's pretty amazing to hear from other people who have taken things away and made their own pivots as well. So it's a gift to be able to do that.
And as I listen to you, my mind is, as the same with all of my guests, is always just coming up with new ideas. And I'm like, okay, she's talked to over 70 people. You have so much wisdom that can go inside of a book right now. Have you thought about writing one?
Oh, yes, I have.
Let's
and
go.
I mean, just to say it here, it's already started. It's in the works. This is something I'm like, it would be such a cool dream to be able to do that. And I'm like, well, why not? So I'm starting. We'll see. We'll see if
You'll be surprised how many doors open up with a book. So about back in 2011, after I had been flipping washers and dryers successfully for about 4 or 5 years, people started encouraging me. You need to write a book. I'm like, I don't even like to read, let alone write a book. But long story short, I ended up writing the Craigslist Hustle, which helped thousands of people. I got so many emails, and I got introduced to so many different podcasts. Podcasts was, just becoming a thing back then. And so I was on a few major podcasts with the book, and it opened up a lot of doors. So books can open up doors for you. So I'm encouraging you, continue and finish.
Hey, I'm taking that to heart, and I actually will need to pick your brain later of how did you actually publish it?
Come on, self-publish. Same thing. If you can do this podcast and publish and do everything that you edit, what you're doing, publishing a book, it's not hard at all. And so I've self-published so many books that people started asking me to do theirs. And so, I'm a middleman. I do charge a fee for some of the people, but I will absolutely give you some pointers and tips. But that's another side hustle of mine. I help self-publish books.
That's incredible. You are so multi-talented. It's amazing.
I tell you, it's not my choice. I was married at 19, had 3 kids at 21. I said, hey, your boy got to go to work. We got to find something to do that doesn't get me incarcerated.
Oh, man.
And so with you, now what actually led you to furniture flipping? And so I'm going to, tag you in with your social media handles, and so people can see some of your work. But how did you get started?
Wow. Well, so as I kind of hinted at, I was working in corporate tech world. So I was in startup tech. I was in customer experience leadership roles, and I had been doing that for about 16 years, honestly. I thought that's what I was supposed to do, have a job, and I was pretty good at it. I had a blog, I teach online courses, I spoke at events. Like I was like, this is what I do. And then I got laid off in November 2022, and 6 months before I got laid off, my dad died. And so it was just a really hard year. And I was feeling pretty low about myself because every time I would apply for a job, I kept getting rejections. And it started to feel like the doors were closing where I thought I had built a career path that I was doing good, but apparently it wasn't in the way that the market is. If anyone else is in the tech startup world, you feel my pain. But I applied to over 400 jobs, and I kept getting rejections. And then with that, my identity had to shift because work had been who I thought I was. And I was pretty depressed, to be quite honest. And one day I was at my friend's house, and in her basement, she had this really junky table. It was a piece of crap. It was so great. She found it in the alley. It was a wood table. It was covered in gunk and who knows what else. And she's like, I just looked at that table and I was like, I guess I saw myself in it, unwanted, abandoned, just sitting, no one wants it anymore. And I saw myself in it and was like, hey, can I take that? She's like, yeah, it's yours. You could do whatever you want with it. Let me tell you, though, I had zero idea of how to use power tools. I didn't even know what an orbital sander was. I didn't know the difference. I didn't know there was water-based and oil-based paint and stain. Like, there's so many. I had no idea. But for whatever reason, something in that moment spoke to me. And I was hit that moment where I'm like, rock bottom. I didn't know what I was doing, and I just saw potential in this piece of junk. And I took it home and I watched a bunch of YouTube videos and Instagram videos and TikToks, just like of people doing exactly what we're talking about, like watching how you make these over. And I learned, I went to, Home Depot and Lowe's, and I'd corner employees and I'd be like, what should I use for this? Like, it was really, really weird. I'd slide into people's DMs, hey, and see who answered. Can you answer this question for me? And then I just figured it out. I would just try things and make a bunch of mistakes, and I recorded it along the way. And I was like, well, maybe I'll learn something here. No intention of turning it into anything but literally therapy at that moment. And I transformed the heck out of that table, and it became something that was not only transforming a piece of furniture that would have otherwise ended up in a landfill or sat in a basement for years and years, but it became a way to prove that there are second chances available. And if I could do that to a piece of furniture, what does that mean for myself? And so it was like the universe started to rain down junk furniture. And let me tell you, I don't know if it's because I started to be aware of it or literally it was just signs from the universe, but in the alleys and on the curbs by my house, just people, leave things out. And so I started to scoop them up. I'd be on a walk with my dog and I would just, oh, here's a table. And neighbors started to see this. So then they started to leave things on my doorstep. Oh, found this on the curb. Or I'd get text messages. Hey, saw this piece of trash here on the corner. I thought of you, and I would pick it up. I'd fix it up. And then I started to sell these things. And yeah.
It's interesting because I tried that a while ago. I had seen some furniture on the curb and I took it to the house, and a few hours later, the neighbor had came and said we were moving, and it was just sitting there because, no, I'm just joking.
Oh my God. But that's I haven't had that happen yet.
Free. We were moving. We were just waiting till the U-Haul came.
Oh my God.
Now, I don't like to edit out anything on my podcast, and so I'm going to backtrack just real quick so you can clarify and tell the truth with this. Now, you said you applied to 40 jobs is what you meant to say, right? But you said 400.
I said 400.
What?
Yeah, that was over a 2-year period. I applied to 400 jobs. There were a couple small contract roles that I got because of, how my experience in the industry. I was able to get a couple small scale contract roles, and I'm so grateful for them because they were with wonderful people. They covered my rent essentially. Like that was it. Like, let's just say it was a really hard time. And so I was grateful for those opportunities. But other than that, no, I kept getting rejection after rejection. And a lot of those rejections, I didn't, here I am in my career. I didn't want 16 years in, I don't want a VP role. I don't want a director level role. I knew I've been a director, I've been manager of teams, and I love it and I'm good at it, but it was not where I wanted to be. So I was applying for kind of independent contributor type roles in the tech world. And with my experience, there was an interview, actually, I'll share this. There was one interview that I was in, and I remember logging into Zoom, and the guy on the other end, he's like, hi, how's it going? And he starts laughing, and I was like, oh, it's nice to meet you. He's like, what's so funny? And he's like, well, we just had to see who you were. And I was like, oh, well, I'm Jenny. And I thought it was a time to make an intro, but then he stops me. And this literally happened. And he was like, we just had to see who you were because we don't know why you applied for this role. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, you have all this experience and you do things outside of work. Like at that point, I was promoting the fact, I've spoken at customer service conferences. I teach 2 Udemy for business courses that I used to do, all back in my corporate days, things I, thought was part of my career plan. And this guy was calling it out like it was bad. And he's like, you're a 1 foot in, 1 foot out kind of person. We don't want that on our team. And I was like, then why did you call me into this interview? Right. And he was just like, I just had to see who you were. I couldn't believe that this was happening. And I was like, okay. So I ended that Zoom call and was just like, what? And when I started to talk to other people, it kind of became evident that, if you are that type of person, some companies are just, that's not how they see career growth at all. They'll shun you out. But then there's also, which, when this happened, I'm in my late 30s, early 40s. There's also ageism, which and also just being a woman in tech, they're just less likely to take you seriously, and it sucks.
Wow. That and I'm thankful for you being transparent, because I know there's somebody else out there that may be going through a similar situation. And I just hope that you find just encouragement just from Jenny's story. 400 applications. But yet here we are sitting on the podcast, and she is rocking it, killing it in the game, furniture flipping. And I'm telling you, I'm super excited that she's here with us. And so thank you so much for being transparent in that moment. And then as we just, what do you usually find as we get back to the furniture flipping? Like, what do you find most of your best items? Do you go to thrift stores, garage sales, or Facebook? I did see like a Habitat for Humanity poster on your wall. Do you go there from time to time?
Oh my gosh. So this is a great question. And again, I'm going to be super transparent, because I have, to this day, I've been flipping furniture for a couple years now. I have bought 0 pieces of furniture. I do not go to thrift stores and purchase them. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, if I had to, I would. However, I find everything on the curb, in the alley. Pieces are donated to me from people, and I also do client projects. And so at this point in time, I have 0 need to go purchase them. But I mean, if it comes a time where I need to, yeah, absolutely I will. Habitat for Humanity we worked together actually. It was a really cool collaboration where they brought me into the store. I got to pick a piece of furniture and take it home. I documented the whole process, and then I donated it back to the store, and then they sold it, and the proceeds all went back to Habitat for Humanity. So it was a really cool project to be able to work on and showcase that these pieces in these stores all have a second chance, and they don't have to look how they appear just in the store. You could, pick it up, just like we see so many other talented, amazing flippers purchasing things from thrift stores and stuff. But yeah, there's so much that people throw away, and I am very into sustainability, and these pieces shouldn't end up in a landfill. A lot of them will just sit. They won't decompose, and the solid pieces, furniture is made differently these days. If there's a solid wood piece of furniture that someone's tossing out, like, that deserves a second chance, because that's still going to last so long, and I want to make that possible. So, yeah.
That's interesting, and I know a lot of my listeners, or some of my listeners, may be like me and thinking, okay, all of this free furniture on the side of the road, where does she live? Is she in some kind of sketchy No, believe me, she is in a very nice community. I'm a realtor, and so I have access to tools. I've already pulled the comps on houses all through here. She is in a great area, but yet she says she has not paid for one piece of furniture. There is free furniture out there, people, for you to get started. And so that is very exciting. Wow. And so how do you even know if something is worth flipping? Like, do you have any tips for beginners to spot value?
That is a great question. So I think if you are a beginner, maybe don't worry so much about value yet, because you're still learning your craft. You got to make a bunch of mistakes. So even if you find something really junky, maybe it's not solid wood, maybe it's an old piece of IKEA furniture, just take it in, test it out. Get a lot of that early work done on those pieces to get that out of the way. So when you do find the ones of value, the solid wood pieces, there are sometimes pieces that might be solid wood mixed with other types of MDF or other types of materials. Just take a look and see what you think is going to sell best in your area. And it's really trial and error. Here, I find the dressers and dining tables, even dining tables without chairs, they sell. Plant stands. Sometimes you'll find like small little plant stands people are tossing. They're small little piddly things. You could fix that up and spend, I don't know, maybe a couple bucks. And you don't spend much time, and suddenly you can sell it for $25, $30. And while that doesn't seem like a lot, over time that adds up. And you can also hone in on your craft by really practicing on the smaller pieces too. But I think when I look at a piece at this point, I have to be very strategic, because I have limited space available in my garage to take things in and store them. And I know that when I'm doing client projects as well now, if I take in a piece of furniture off the curb or in the alley that is larger and, might need a lot more TLC than some other pieces, that might mean I have to say no to a client project. So sometimes I have to evaluate. Like earlier, LaJuan, we were walking down the alley. Someone just put out this junky table in the other alley, and it's so funny because it literally, these things just show up. And it was, I mean, it would have been a great starter project, but because I have I literally have a client hutch coming in really soon, and that's a big piece. So I'm saying no to a lot of things right now because I have to be strategic, but it takes time to get there. And if you're like me, I just want to save all the furniture. I want to save it all and sing to it and, you know, give it a second chance. And, you got to learn your boundaries.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, it's one thing to actually do what you're doing with flipping furniture, but it's another to go on social media and share it. Now, what inspired you to start sharing what you're doing on social media?
Oh, you know what? I will be very honest. I was super hesitant to do this at first.
Yeah.
On social media. I actually started flipping pieces for about 6 months before I even put anything out there because I just was like, who am I? Like, I'm not an expert at this. I'm no good. I'm just like this person who can't even get a job. And, you know, who's going to actually be interested in this? But I don't know, this idea popped in my head, San Diego Furniture Flipper one day. And I was like, you know what? I'd been talking to some friends who were pretty active on social media and they're like, why not? And once I, you know, really leaned into what they were saying, I was like, you know what, I guess why not? And so I just started and now I can't stop.
and it's just interesting, again, just the mental battle that we go through, because I'm sure we've all been in that position where you're like, why would I do this? Who's going to care? Will I matter in doing this? And I was talking to you earlier, you know, you're going to reach people that some other furniture flippers are not going to be able to reach, and vice versa. And so for those of you all who are out there and you may have an idea that you're sitting on, the majority of my guests always say, just start now, just do it. Why not? Why not? And so thank you again for sharing that and being transparent. And so let me ask you, what was one flip, and you may have had several, but if you can think of one that was like your next big flip, and not necessarily something that brought a lot of monetary gain, but it was more monumental into getting you to, you know, maybe your next flip, or just saying, you know what? I need to be doing this. I'm so thankful that this flip happened.
Oh, wow. That's a great question. Oh, my gosh. Let me think through the flips here. You know, I think the one that stands out the most, there was this dresser that I picked up. It was sitting on the curb. This thing was treacherous. Honestly, I shouldn't have even picked it up because... well, it was really bad. And I was I hate to, it seems so silly to attach emotion to these things, but I was in a really low place and I saw this really terrible dresser. I'll show you pictures after, but it was bad. And when I loaded it in my car and I pushed it in, then I looked at the bottom of this, and this is a tip for all furniture flippers. When you're picking things up off the side of the road, check the bottom and the back of the furniture, wherever you put your hands first, because spiders are real. They live in these things, and there was literally 2 black widows on the bottom, and my hands had been right next to them. Yeah, put that in my car, and I was like, oh, well, thank goodness I didn't get bit. And also, I had to get those, you know, squash them and move them out as quick as possible so they didn't hang out in my car, and I'm driving, and suddenly, you know. So tip of the century with furniture, check for bugs and spiders and whatever else could be living in their critters. Who knows? Someone's throwing this away, so check it.
Yes.
So that's the first piece. But that dresser really sat for months because I felt so intimidated and actually kind of ashamed. I was like, man, I shouldn't have even picked this up. But once I started working on it, I completely transformed this thing. And it ended up selling for like $200. And I know maybe that doesn't seem like a ton, but like I proved to myself that I could take something that was literal garbage that someone would look at and be like, ew, it's covered in spiders. What's wrong with you? And I transformed it into something that's now in someone's home, and did a little kind of, I'm not like a painter. Like I don't do art, like pictures or anything, but I did a little design on it because I was trying to cover something up on it, that a stain that I was like, well, I can't get this out with the wood stain or sanding, so I'm just going to do some little art over it. So it became this kind of it was like a statement piece for me in my journey of like a turning point of like, if I can change this and give this dresser a second chance, anything is possible.
I'm just sitting here being all inspired listening to this. You give such great visuals, and I'm just imagining the whole process. And so I'm just like wanting to cry, like, oh. over the dresser. So that's a beautiful story.
I did cry when that thing sold. I'll be honest, I cried. It's embarrassing. I posted a story about it because I was like, if I had room, I would keep it. It was such a monumental, impactful piece for me, this little dresser. So I did cry.
That's awesome.
It's okay to cry.
It's okay to cry. It's okay to cry. And so that's exactly what I was hoping for, something like that when I think about the next big flip, because there are so many social media content creators out there trying to teach how to make $40,000 by tomorrow and this and that. No, less than 10% of Americans are millionaires, and this podcast will not change that. But we all have those times where we needed something to take place. And so you got that next big flip. And so for me, it was early on flipping washers and dryers, being married at such a young age and not having, finishing college and not having a job. But flipping every washer and dryer was like my next big flip because it put food on the table, gas in my car. And so that right there was monumental for, just you as a person. And so that's a beautiful story.
Hey, and you know what? That's such a real thing. Like, you took something that someone was going to toss away, and especially something that's such an integral part of a family, a washer and dryer. And then you gave that a second chance, and that gave you this very realistic thing. Food on the table, gas in the car. A lot of the times we do think about these things. Oh, I'm not going to make $40,000, over in 3 months to do this. Why would I even start? But just like you said, it's not even about that. It is about starting small, the smallest action you can take. And what is the smallest amount that you can make? And really keeping that real.
That's good. That's a good point. Now, what's something you wish you may have known earlier about flipping that would have saved you some time or money?
Ooh, safety gear. Safety gear, hands down. I didn't realize when I first started flipping furniture. I mean, how would you know if you never used these things before? But I have a sensitivity, extreme sensitivity to paint stripper. There's a chemical in it for whatever reason, even with a respirator mask. And so it just being in the air, like I can't be around it. And also even before using paint stripper, like I didn't have a respirator mask. I was just using I don't know, when I had an old COVID mask, honestly. And I was like, what am I going to use this again?
Right.
I was like, I might as well. And it just doesn't do the same thing. Having a respirator mask, wearing safety glasses, wearing safety gloves, really being aware of your surroundings when you're, using these chemicals and these tools, and going slow, not rushing, but, making sure your knees are protected with knee pads. It sounds so silly, but these are the things, if I would have done a little more research in advance, it would have saved me a lot of time, because I wouldn't have gotten all these really terrible sinus infections at first and had to, not be able to work on pieces. I wouldn't have had bruises on my knees, and then that would, all kinds of things or cuts on my hand or splinters because I wasn't wearing gloves. Just research the safety gear. It will save you time, but also just your health is so important. And if you want to keep flipping furniture, you got to take care of yourself.
If you want to keep flipping furniture, you got to take care of yourself. Safety first. And so thank you for sharing that. Now, what's one book, podcast, or tool, and you may or may not have any, but if you do you have any that may have helped you along in your flipping journey, or YouTube content creator?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, I will say Furniture Flipping Teacher. She was a gal that I really started to follow and learn from early on. I signed up for her online courses. She has 2 of them. She's incredible. Her story is great. That was really where I started. But then even going back, there's an old show. I don't even know what channel it's on anymore. It's called Flea Market Flip.
I hadn't seen
with
that.
Laura Spencer. She's the host. And it's literally a competition show where people go to an antique, swap meet, pick out whatever random pieces and have to transform it, and whoever does the best and sells it. And so it just kind of started to spark this creativity in me. But I will say Appaloosa Artisans is another one that I follow. She's actually based in North Carolina. She's freaking incredible. And her stories of transformation, I followed her early on. And when I got to interview her for the Career Flipper podcast, it was such a fangirl moment. Tanya Cassidy is awesome. But there's so
she's a furniture flipper also?
Yes, she is. She's
reaching out to her.
Yes, definitely. She's incredible. Teacher by day. She's actually retiring at the end of the year. And then furniture flipper by evening and weekend, and she's incredibly talented. But watching her reels and stories, like she's so great at sharing the step by step in her stories, and I just really found so much in there. And then book wise, I mean, gosh, if I would have had your book back then, it would have changed the game. But I will say, and it's not necessarily a furniture flipping book, but the book Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert.
Big Magic is
a book that, I mean, hold on to those creative ideas, whatever they are, and don't let them out of your sight, because they're showing up for a reason.
Big Magic. Okay, so I'm going back, listening to all of this, reaching out to some of these people you mentioned and getting these books. So I'm excited. Yes. All right, Jenny, as we get ready to land this plane, do you have any advice that you could give someone who's hesitant about starting a side hustle, whether it's, some step they can take today or this week to get started?
Yes. The advice that I have for you is start small. It might even be 5 minutes a day, 1 day a week, because that's more than you're doing now. And I think sometimes when we think about starting a side hustle or starting our own business or whatever, we think we have to go all in 100%, take the leap, do all the things. No, you can literally start. What is the tiniest step that you can take right now to get started and continue to stay consistent? That's it. 5 minutes a day, 1 day a week. If you can do that, how much more can you add on? Maybe then it becomes 10 minutes. Maybe it becomes 20. Just take that small step, because if you never take the step, you're never going to know. And like I always like to say, what's the best that could happen?
Wow. Start small. What's the best that can happen? Start small. What's the best that can happen? The next Big Flip Podcast.